Hi, comrades. Hi. Thanks so much for everyone coming out to Washington, D.C. And thanks to everybody for putting on such incredible acts of resistance, not just in D.C., but across the country. Here in New York, out in Los Angeles. I mean, it was all across the country, coast to coast. People were turning out to basically say that we're not okay with this, that we're not okay with what it is that Trump's been doing. We're not okay with the people who are going to be in his administration handing him sheet after sheet after sheet of paper of executive order to sign, stripping away with one stroke of the pen, seemingly, years of organizing, decades of struggle, like people who had died for these rights, and they're just taking it all away from us. But I'll tell you that we had about, I'm not used to counting these numbers, but I think it was about 2,500 people, I think at least, that turned out to DC. And we had sorry? Is about that much? Some say more. More than 2,500, but I think that considering the fact that transportation was such a challenge because the state had done pretty much everything in its power to shut down people actually coming into DC, that to turn out 2,500 people, some of whom had driven 2 days from Detroit to be able to come out and show the world exactly what they think of this new kind of system that they're rolling out for us, was really inspiring. I thought it was great. And it really couldn't have been done without the party. It couldn't have been done without the party structure and without organizing and without having people from coast to coast helping to design this and helping to come up with it, with people who were tweeting, who were shooting video, who were editing, who were writing up stuff, who were putting on armbands and walking and making sure that these fascist jerks were not going to come up and mess with anybody. I mean, everybody really were able to come together and put on this incredible show of resistance. And since then, people have been. I wasn't in the Women's March, unfortunately, because the day of January 20th, there were 217 people who had been detained by the pigs. They had been kettled for 8 hours in the cold rain. They weren't allowed access to a lawyer. They weren't allowed access to, medical attention. They weren't even allowed to go to the bathroom. And then after that, they were basically throwing people in prison. And what they did is they slapped them with a felony riot act charge. And that carries up to 10 years in prison and $250,000 in fines. And that's 217 people that were charged with that. Although I believe the charges were dropped against one person today, but that's still a pretty heavy thing to try and press down on the movement. And it's meant to scare the living daylights out of people. Because what you had in the streets that day, beyond our incredible militant action, is what you really had is you had a multinational, multi-gender fighting force that were out there basically is saying, we're going to show people, we're going to show the rest of the world that we're not going to go quietly, right? That we're going to fight every step of the way. And this is meant, these disgusting charges are basically meant to try and intimidate people and tell them to stay home. It's meant to tell people oh, you're tired, you should go in, you should rest, maybe think about your family, maybe think about leaving the country or just walking away from the movement. But we can't do that. That's absolutely not what we're going to do. We're going to keep fighting every single fucking day until we overthrow this killer system, right? So since J20, I wasn't able to go, to the Women's March because we were doing jail support in DC Superior. Since every day, since Friday, people have been in the streets in spontaneous action, right? So everything that Trump has done, people have been out there in the streets the same day. They have tens of thousands of people turning out with just a couple hours of notice. There were people who were standing out in the sleet on Tuesday from Columbus Circle all the way to Trump Tower. There were about probably, I'd say, 1,700 people who were facing sleet. And I'm from Florida and I'm not used to sleet, right? I guess it's people are just throwing wet snow on you or something. But there were that many people who were out there. And I think that it's really our duty as revolutionary socialists, as communists, to sit there and support the movement in whatever way we can. We have a lot of people who are hitting the streets for the first time. We have a lot of people who are hitting the streets for the first time, and they don't really know how to deal with cops. They don't really know how to deal with mass resistance, right? And they're looking around right now. They're looking around for people to be able to tell them, you don't ask the pigs to march. You just take the fucking streets, right? We need to go out there and sort of spread this kind of knowledge and experience that we have to be able to support this resistance, because the only thing that's going to stop this rampage, it's really a blitzkrieg if you think about it. Every single day this week, it's been just rollback after rollback after rollback, and it's all meant to demoralize. You see what they went after. They went after our frontline fighters. They went after the multi-gender, multinational force that was actually fighting in the streets. They went after them. They tried to scare them with felonies, right? The next day, what did they do? They tried to scare everybody away by taking Standing Rock away from everyone. They wanted to start the Keystone XL pipeline again, right? Then what did they do? They said that they're going to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem and Palestine, right? These are all meant to immediately demoralize the movement. It's meant to shut everyone down. And right now, out at JFK, we have people who are waiting to be deported. Right? We have people who are detained. We have families. We have women. We have children. We have the most vulnerable people on this planet coming from places like Syria and Iraq, victims of imperialism, all of them, right? Victims of this sick system. They're trying to deport these people. I just saw, before I got up here to talk, someone had told me that there was a woman who just tried to kill herself out at JFK because she's being deported, right? So what is it that we can do right now as a movement? It's to stay in the streets. It's to get into the streets. It's to be the militant pole that pulls people towards that revolutionary change. So with that being said, after this meeting, there are going to be some of us that are going to go down to JFK because we're going to shut that shit down, right? We're going to shut it the fuck down. I'm sick and tired of people being murdered by this system. Whether it's people in Ferguson or people in Syria or Palestine or Central and South America or anywhere. It's unreasonable. We don't have to do it. So anyway, if you want to come with us afterwards, it would be a great idea. I think there's going to be a group of us leaving after the meeting is concluded. We're going to have signs. We're going to go together as a force because that's how you really get stuff done, is when you're organized, when you actually are working with a strategy and with people that you trust and you know. So you should join a party, right? You should join this party, from my opinion, but you should join a party. You should get organized. You should get with people who know what it is that they can give you advice on, that you can work together, that if you can't make this happen, like you can reach out to people for help and you know that they're going to come through on it. So anyway, I'll see you all at 4. That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much again, though. This was an incredible show of resistance in DC.